months ago, I opened an Etsy shop selling digital products with little to zero experience. In this video, I'm sharing exactly how much I made in my first 6 months on Etsy, my total revenue, and the money I received in the bank. I will also break down the biggest mistakes I made, what worked best, and give some advice for new or aspiring Etsy sellers. Before we get started, I just want to briefly introduce myself and share a bit of my story. Hi, my name is Denny and I am an Etsy seller selling digital products. My Etsy journey started way back in 2023. I was on the hunt for additional income and I saw videos on YouTube from people who had success selling on Etsy, and I thought to myself, maybe it could work for me too. Unfortunately, the first shop that I opened in 2023 totally flopped and I ended up giving up. Fast forward to 2024, I saw this ad about selling digital clip art on Etsy and it convinced me to give Etsy another shot. Here we are in 2025. I'm about to hit my 1-year mark and I am still going. In case you missed it, the type of digital product I sell on Etsy is mainly digital clip art. I want to set the record straight that you don't make a lot from selling digital clip art, especially when you are just starting and things happen out of your control. With that, I also want to let you know that you have to understand that selling on Etsy is not, as cliche as this sounds, is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes time to build, strategic approach, and it takes money to make money. Now that's out of the way, let's dive in. So in my first 6 months on Etsy, I made a total of $254.41 in revenue. I had a total of 1,900 number of visits, 94 number of orders, and 4.9 conversion rate. Now let's break down what those 6 months actually looked like, because there were some highs, some lows, and surprises along the way. In my very first month, I made $54.78 in revenue. I know it's not much, but I'm just happy that I was already making something in my first month. I think that's a great achievement. But I will never forget the first time I got a sale, which I have been telling you guys the wrong information. I've been telling that I got my first sale on the 11th day since I opened my shop. But actually, if we go back here, I actually got my first sale on October 10th, 2024, and I made 90 cents. It wasn't much, but you know, it felt like a proof that this could actually work. Another thing that I will never forget during my first month selling on Etsy was getting hit with a copyright claim. Because of that, I had to remove the listing, which was the best seller at that time. And till now, I wish I had done something differently, because I already felt something was off. You know, that's a lesson learned for you. Be careful with copyrighted or trademarked elements. In month 2, things picked up a little and I made $77.97 in revenue, which was $23 more than the first month. Around this time, I also tried a strategy where I put up a sale for a short amount of time. So like instead of doing, say, like a monthly sale, which a lot of Etsy sellers do, what I did was to put up a sale for like a week at a time and then take a break for like 3 days, 2 to 3 days, and then have another week of a sale. I think that actually worked because I got 35 number of orders this month. So yeah, and high conversion rate, 5.3%. Month number 3 was a little interesting because I made $63.18, which was a bit lower than November, with only 23 number of orders, but 6.3% of conversion rate, which was really interesting because, you know, I had more shoppers who bought right there and then when they found my listings versus the first and the second month. I think the reason why the number of orders have decreased was because at that time, like during my first and second month, I would always have like 60% off most of my listings. And I guess that's why a lot of people were buying. But in December, I thought, you know what? I should not be doing 60% off. I should be just doing like 50% or 55%. And I think this was the reason why this was the beginning of the agonizing, the dropping of sales and the views and not making any sales. Month 4, this was the month, January 2025, where I saw a significant decrease of sales, which was only 3 orders, and in total I made $8.67. This was a sad month. Apparently January, February, and March are the slowest months on Etsy, but yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be this low. Like, I only made 3 orders. Now, to kind of, I guess, justify, or not an excuse, but this month as well, I was not making a lot of clip arts that were not related to holiday themed clip arts. I had like, most of my listings were Christmas, Halloween. I did Valentine's, but like I only had like probably 2 to 3 products, but the rest, they were Christmas. So like there's nothing really for people to see, and I was also not making or listing a lot of new listings or new products. So that's one of the things that really contributed to it. Month 5, February 2025, this was the worst month for me. It was so bad because I didn't make anything at all. Zero. Yeah, I started to list listings at this time, but I guess they were not what people were looking for at that time. Yeah, there's nothing much to talk about this month. It's just I didn't make money at all. Finally, in month number 6, which was March of 2025, I started to make money again, and I made, it wasn't much, but I made $49.81, which I was really happy about. I guess the listings that I've added in February were, and also in March, were a big factor into like me making money at this time. And I gotta be honest, I probably have thought of giving up because I'm like, what's the point, right? What's the point? But I'm glad I kept pushing through. And even though the amount of money that I made for the first 6 months was not life-changing, it taught me to persevere and understand that business is not, when you start a business, is not always about like winning every time or getting sales all the time. You're gonna have months where your number of sales decreased, and that's fine. The important thing is that you keep pushing. Again, in total, I made $254.41 in gross revenue in my first 6 months, but you have to remember that that's just revenue. What actually matters is that how much money landed into my bank account. So out of $254.41 in total sales, after fees and taxes, I actually received $153.42 in my bank. That's a difference of $100.99. And honestly, I thought I would make less than $100 because again, with the sales slowly declining in December to January and none in February, I expected to make less. But looking back, those ups and downs actually taught me a lot about selling on Etsy. So let me share my biggest lessons I learned in my first 6 months. Let's start with the biggest mistakes I made. One of the biggest mistakes I made was not being careful with copyright and trademarks. When you're just starting out, while it is important to get into trends or what is trending, for me that is important, especially when you are just starting out, because it can help your shop grow. You have to make sure that it is not copyrighted or trademarked. Otherwise, that listing is gonna get taken down, or worse, your shop is gonna be taken down. The second mistake that I made was I spent time and energy comparing myself to other sellers, and till this day I wish that I had spent those time and energy focusing on my own growth. What it only did to me was just slow me down. The third mistake that I made was that I didn't stick to one niche for at least 5-6 months. What I did was I was jumping around too much. You know, I couldn't wait to get into junk journals, seamless pattern, which made it harder for my shop to build momentum. So if there's one piece of advice that I can give to you if you're just starting out, focus on one niche and learn all about it for the first 6 months, and then you can start to get into a sub niche. What worked best for me? What really worked best for me was listing consistently and intentionally. Listing consistently is an advice that you hear a lot from Etsy sellers, whether from YouTube or Facebook groups, because listing consistently does help your shop. It gives your shop a boost. However, if you're not listing intentionally, you're gonna waste your time and money. And what do I mean by listing intentionally? You have to make sure that someone is actually looking for that type of product that you're listing, because again, you are gonna waste time and money. You're gonna be more frustrated because like, why are you not making any sales? Now, here's my advice for new and aspiring Etsy sellers. First is invest in learning, especially if you're brand new to Etsy and know nothing about Etsy. That's something I did early on. I enrolled myself into an Etsy course and it made a huge difference. It helped me understand the platform faster and avoided some of the mistakes that I would have made otherwise. I say some of the mistakes because I believe that just because you enrolled yourself into a course, you followed someone else's step-by-step guide on how they did it, it is not going to guarantee you that you are never gonna make any mistakes. At the end of the day, you're gonna have your own experience that you're gonna have to go through. It's like going to school, right? You go to the same school as your classmates, you learn the same thing as your classmates, but you're still going to have your own unique experiences to go through. My second advice is, if you are going to try Etsy, do it 100%. Don't halfway commit, because the more intentional energy you put in, the more you'll get back. So that's how much I made in my first 6 months of selling digital products on Etsy, plus the wins, the mistakes, and the lessons I learned along the way. If you're new to Etsy, I hope this gave you a real and honest look at what's possible and what to avoid. And if you're already selling, maybe you saw a bit of your own journey in mine. I hope you guys found this video helpful or insightful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!